Welcome everyone, I'm Dale and this is Cinema Historia. This week, I'd like to dedicate this video to a friend of mine who passed away last week. Yes, my neighbor's dog, Odin, who was kind enough to be in a thumbnail photo for a Charlie Chaplin film I did, A Dog's Life, sadly passed away last week. So since Odin liked westerns, here we go, Odin. A shy mountain man, a runaway girl, and a corrupt town. This week, we're going back to 1959 for an American Western film called The Wild and the Innocent, starring Audie Murphy, Joanne Dru, Gilbert Roland, Jim Backus, and Sandra Dee. And this is directed by Jack Schur. Traveling down a dusty trail in dangerous and secluded backwoods is shy and naive mountain trapper Yancey Hawks, played by Audie Murphy. Yancey is traveling through Wyoming with his uncle Lies Hawks and his wife Kiri en route to the local trading post to trade their pelts for cash and much needed supplies to get them through the winter. Along the way, they bump into friends headed to California to start a homestead, and then they stop for a meal and rest the horses. Lies notices a disturbance with the horses. Yes, they're upset, and while investigating, he is attacked and injured by an angry black bear. With Kiri staying behind to take care of his injured uncle, scared and alone, Yancey proceeds with 2 mules loaded with beaver pelts. When he arrives at the trading post, he finds it has been burnt down by upset locals. Yes, they're upset because they were sold bad moonshine by a lazy thief named Ben Stalker. Trading post owner Mr. Ogilby tells Yancey that the nearest town to trade his furs is a 2-day ride to the general store in Casper, Wyoming. His anxiety increases when Ben Stalker tries to trade his oldest daughter, Rosalie, played by Sandra Dee, for some furs, but not wanting a wife, Yancey declines. I don't know, sounds like a good deal to me. The next day, Yancey finds, though, that Rosalie has run away from her family and wants him to take her to town where she can get a job and a place to call her own. Agreeing to take her, they eventually reach town, trading the furs at the general store owned by Cecil Forbes, played by Jim Backus. And you remember Jim Backus from Gilligan's Island. After cleaning up with new clothes, they meet Paul Bartel, played by Gilbert Roland, the town's corrupt sheriff, who says he will find Rosalie a job at the local dance hall. Meanwhile, Yancey takes a liking to one of the other girls, Marcy Howard, played by Joanne Dru, until he finds out what really goes on at the dance hall. When Yancey goes to get Rosalie, he finds an angry sheriff standing before him who refuses to let her go. So, would Rosalie rather keep her self-respect than her job? Will a corrupt sheriff maintain his corrupt town? Or is a shy and naive mountain trapper forced into self-defense? This film was based on a story by Cy Gomberg, who was also the producer and co-writer along with the director Jack Schur. Cy Gomberg was an American Oscar-nominated film screenwriter and producer who taught screenwriting to University of Southern California students for over a decade. 85% of Google users liked this movie, stating, "Audie Murphy and Sandra Dee star in this charming tale of innocence in the Old West," and that they do. The wild and wonderful story of the exciting young frontier. And this film was the final Universal International film shot in CinemaScope. And I will be doing a story on this lens series in the future. It was very popular during the 1950s. And our trivia question this week: was this the film debut for someone who starred in our film? Was this the film debut for someone who starred in our film? So, a little more history and the answer to our trivia question coming up next. Now, filming took place in Big Bear Lake, California in October of 1958, making Big Bear Lake the subject of this week's history. So, Big Bear Lake is a city in San Bernardino County, California, located in the San Bernardino Mountains, along the south shore of Big Bear Lake and surrounded by the San Bernardino National Forest. The city is about 25 miles or 40 kilometers northwest of the city of San Bernardino, with a population of approximately 5,019 at the 2010 census. However, as a popular year-round resort destination, the greater Big Bear Valley area regularly surges to over 100,000 during many weekends of the year. Big Bear Lake was inhabited by the indigenous Serrano people for over 2,000 years before it was explored by fur trapper and rancher Benjamin Wilson and his party. Once populated by only the natives and the grizzly bears from which the area received its name, the population grew rapidly during the Southern California Gold Rush from 1861 to 1912. Back in its day, a trip to Big Bear Lake from San Bernardino took 2 days on horse-drawn coaches. Local Kirk Phillips, seeing the world's first bus line in New York City, was inspired to create the world's second bus line from San Bernardino to Big Bear Valley. As a result, it became the first mountain recreation area in Southern California. For Hollywood's film industry, it has been a popular place for shooting on location since the silent era, with such films as Last of the Mohicans in 1920, Daniel Boone in 1936, Gone with the Wind in 1939, there's a big one, Old Yeller in 1957, which I just did a review on, and The Wild and the Innocent in 1959, just to name a few. The first winter ski jump in Big Bear was erected in 1929, and quickly claimed a world ski jump record. The move to a winter resort town was solidified though in 1952 when Tommy Tyndall opened a resort now known as Snow Summit. Construction began in 1968 of Big Bear Observatory, a university-based solar observatory, still a major landmark. Since the 1970s, the Big Bear Lake Oktoberfest sports the highest beer garden by elevation in the U.S., and during the 1990s, the city became famous as a training spot for boxing champions, such as Mike Tyson, Fernando Vargas, and Shane Mosley. And the Big Bear Grizzly, the media of the mountain, is a weekly newspaper serving Big Bear Lake and surrounding areas. Isn't that interesting? There's a lot of information on this area. I wish I could cover it all, but at least I can cover the trivia question. And the answer to this one, was this the film debut for someone who starred in our film? It certainly was. It was the film debut of actress Wesley Marie Tackett, who played dancehall girl Ma Ransom, in our film. Wesley moved to Southern California during the Great Depression, caught the acting bug performing on stage, on radio, and in puppet theater throughout her high school and college years at UC Santa Barbara. A professional actress, she is also known for playing Margie's mother in the Margie TV show that ran from 1961 to 1962. Isn't that cool? I didn't know that. If you have a dog with a favorite film that you would like me to do from the golden era, like our friend Odin, please leave it in the comments. Thanks for watching, everyone, and I hope to see you back next week.